Where is it? All right, good. Hello. So something went real wrong today with Emoji Tetra, and it's not something that I can fix because it's Twitter's problem, but it is something that I can understand and maybe add a workaround for it. So here's the situation. My parents went away on a week's vacation. Um, so this isn't supposed to be like this. So Emoji Tetra. Hi, I'm Joe Sondow, and I make Twitter bots. This Emoji Tetra account is supposed to have people voting in it, and it has 14,000 followers. It usually has between 100 and 300 votes in most of the polls. And here it's got 0 votes, 0 votes, 0 votes. And that has something to do with Twitter's backend. And something's gone wrong with Twitter's stuff. So the behavior of the bot is that it currently, like, it's okay with having 0 votes in a poll. It will proceed anyway. That's its nature. That's part of the time pressure of it. Is like, this is not an account where nothing will happen if you don't vote. It's expecting votes, and if no one votes, it will do the simplest thing, which is to go down, move the piece down. So the down or stop or plummet option, I'm sorry, not plummet, the down or stop choice in a poll is the winner of ties when there's a tie. And here, when every result has 0%, 0 votes on each poll option, then down wins because it's a tie. That made sense for when the bot first launched. There were 0 followers. A couple of tweets happened before I showed people, here's a thing, go try it. And pieces just fell, and they just stacked up like this and did this terrible thing. So this is a terrible situation for the game, for those who are invested in the outcome of the game. It looks like the problem started here. There was 203 votes 3 hours ago. And this is 2:23 p.m. because I'm in California. That was still 195 votes, still good. And then it started a new thread because infinite threads turn out to be very bad on Twitter, or long threads. So it does short threads. And then at 2:42. So between 2:22 and 2:42 Pacific time today, July 23rd, 2019, Twitter had a problem. And I've noticed they've had problems the last 2 days with their search interface. Their new layout on the web has they're adding features, and I have different accounts where those different accounts are in different test buckets, and they're getting features at different times. Some of them still have the old layout, some have the new layout, some have the new layout plus some features that rolled out today. So they did a release today, and that release added stuff like you can customize some more colors on your page and stuff, and the size of your text, and which kind of dark mode. They have 2 kinds of dark mode now, at least on the phone. So Twitter did a release. And what day is it? It's Tuesday. Good day for a release in a tech company, because there's lots of people to help fix things that you broke. But they broke polls, and I know from their behavior in the past that Twitter doesn't care that much about polls, and that's just how it is. So it's not shocking. It does suggest that maybe they were doing something, working on polls, or who knows, maybe they were working on a database that happens to be where they put poll data, and they broke it. They broke something that causes polls to not show the totals. It just isn't recording people's votes. And as somebody pointed out in my mentions, they said that, you're welcome. Thank you for these wonderful bots. Thanks, Trent. Twitter polls, Tony said, Twitter polls are currently broken, not counting. John, that's me, Joe. He means Joe. Joe is Pause the Emoji Tetra and Snake Games. And he said it seems to be just that Twitter polls started in the last 2 hours are FUBAR, which is a military acronym that stands for fucked up beyond all recognition. No, recognition or recovery? I forget what the R stands for. Doesn't matter. Find out later. And not counting. For example, everybody just sees their own vote in this poll. It looks like they just fixed it just now. So I voted in this poll right before I set up the stream. Gail Simone said, "Who's your favorite X-Men?" And I clicked Cyclops, which is not true. I didn't really read the poll. I just needed some data. I don't like Cyclops. I think I would have picked either Storm or Nightcrawler. That's a tough one. And it only showed my vote. It showed 100%, and it showed like one vote. Now it's 3,000 votes because she's famous, and that's how it should be. And that means that polls are working now, and that's good. So probably if I go to one of my many other accounts that are projects that I haven't finished yet, but I have some things running on them. I have polls running just for the sake of making sure that Twitter recognizes these are still active accounts. So like this one, Emoji Tetra Beta, let's just test. There's a couple things I want to do. There's 3 things I want to do. First, I want to test that polls are working, not just Gail Simone's poll, but a poll that I create. Then I want to, working means that you can see multiple votes that other people did, not just your own vote. Then I want to rewind the state of my Twitter bots to before this problem started, and then turn the bots back on and clean up the bad tweets, delete the polls where nothing worked and pieces were just falling. It was bad. And the third thing that might be nice to do, that's the hardest of all, is to add code to protect from this new class of error. This has never happened before in a year and a half of Emoji Tetra running. Twitter's never had this particular problem where there's no error in terms of like the server doesn't say, no, you can't read these poll results, or no, you can't post a poll. The server says, fine, okay, everything's done well, but the numbers are incorrect. It's just sending back zeros when it just recently was sending back hundreds of votes. So the only way that I can make that protect from that situation is to check for the case where there are 0 votes. And if there are 0 votes, then make a special effort to look at some previous polls and to acknowledge that if those previous polls had a lot of votes over a certain threshold, let's say 10, because Emoji Snake Game is not as popular. It only gets about 15 votes sometimes. Sometimes it can get 50, but it's more often that it just, like at night, it might only get like 12 on some of the polls. So if there's a 0, but there was a 10 or more in a recent poll of the same account, then that's Twitter being broken. It's not the entire audience of the account going to sleep suddenly. I think that's reasonable. So then a 0 should do something different. Like maybe it should delete the poll. It should delete the tweet where there was a 0 poll, not update the database, and then wait for the timer to just go again and try again. And then it could keep on creating that poll, receiving votes, and if it still shows 0 after 20 minutes, and it says the previous one had a lot of votes, delete it again and just keep on doing that until Twitter recovers. And that would be a way that I could handle this error while I'm asleep. The bot would automatically do the right thing, which is don't go down, but just delete the tweet because it didn't get any votes on an account where there were votes recently. Or I could have a general rule that if it's 0 votes, it deletes the tweet. That would be okay. because then what am I really losing? It just means that a bot is no longer like progressing down pointlessly, choosing semi-random choices. It would be more along the lines of nothing happens. It doesn't progress if there are no votes. That would include the beginning of a new account where no one's voting. I don't want that. I don't want that because I use these bots on accounts that there are no followers, because I want to exercise the code and exercise things for testing, and also to make sure that account is not suspended for any reason, and keep it going. So I think I might have to do the more complicated way. Meanwhile, I'm looking for the tweet that's supposed to go out for this stream, and I am not seeing it, which is a different problem altogether. Disturbing and troubling and really unfortunate, because I wanted to stream and I wanted to talk to people about this, but I am not automatically tweeting what's going on. Oh, and I'm tempted to fix that first. Let me just look and see if it's an obvious, simple thing why that's not working. So this is enabled, and I've been talking for a few minutes, so it should have worked. Let me get my Twitch app running so I can see my uptime. Oh, I can go, you know what I forgot to do? I'm an idiot. I apologize. Where's the chat? Schmitty, good morning. Thank you, Schmitty. I forgot in my haste. Where's my code? Oh, there we go. Pop out the thing. In my haste to start my stream, I forgot to pop out my chat. Whoa, sorry. And make sure that I can see who's talking. Hello, Schmitty. How are you? 4 viewers. All right, great. I would have felt like you didn't notice me. I apologize. I'm all over the place. I just fed my cats. I had to make him a bunch of pills because we ran out of his pills, and I had to fill the pills with powder and tap it down. It was a whole thing. And I started today with a headache, and I was going to stream some games today. That's the wrong purple app. Come on, iPhone. But then this happened. And the very simplest thing I could do is just turn the bots back on. But they're in such a state right now that I feel bad doing that, because then it would be like, sorry, recover as best you can. So here's what I want to do. After I get my phone telling me things about my dashboard. Here we go. So I've been online for 13 minutes, which I could have just... did I not turn my bot on? I did not. I will turn my bot on, because uptime won't do anything until she's online. So now, I still want to know why it's not tweeting my stream. Because I'm streaming for a reason, and if no one on Twitter is aware that I'm streaming, then that's unfortunate, because I wanted people to be able to see what I'm doing, how I'm fixing it. Where's my logs? Why isn't this working? I also have lunch here. I will be eating. What's going on? So this said that I'm offline, and then it said that I'm offline. What? But I'm online. Darth Kilmore, howdy. Hi, Darth Kilmore. How's your day going? Sadly, won't stay long. It's already 2 a.m. here. I remember correctly, you were from somewhere in North America. I am in North America, yes. Schmitty, so I assume I'm guessing you're in maybe Australia, if you're on the exact opposite of the world. Oh no, you're not. It's 5:20 here, so I still think you're probably in Australia. Germany, completely wrong. Okay. Going well. I'm glad your day's going well, Darth. My day has been up and down. Why is this saying that I'm not online when I'm definitely online? Maybe Twitch changed the rules. Maybe this isn't the way to get someone's preview anymore. It is. That's my preview. No reason for that. What time is it in UTC? I need to know that. What time is it in UTC? This way I can read my logs. 0:32. So the logs say at 0:32 that, what happened to my logs? The logs say at 0:31, a minute ago, that online is false, file is null, that it didn't find an image on my stream preview, which is just false. So that's frustrating. Too many things going wrong. Hold on. I can do this. I can do this. New window. Let me fix my Twitch promo app so I can try to show people what I'm doing. Promoter. Check the configuration. I want to see how this is configured. Whoops. I don't want to show some of those keys. I can change those later. Let's see. So let's do this. Twitch username Joe Sondow. Twitch account. Twitter account Joe Sondow. Okay. Apply. Okay. And run that and see what happens. And if it says that I'm not online, then I can do some debugging in here and find out why that is. And then let's see. So what does it say? So now it works, but it doesn't work from Amazon. It only works from whatchamacallit. It only works from my local machine, which is very annoying. They're like, oh, it works on my local, but it doesn't work remotely, so that's too bad. But I will have to cope with that and fix it later. At the very least, now there's a tweet showing people that I'm doing some coding on stream, and I have retweeted it. Twitch, why you do this? There. That kind of worked. It doesn't explain why it wasn't tweeting automatically. I can't explain that. That's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But I'm going to put that aside and come back to what I was doing. And if you're just joining us, hello. But the next thing that I would like to do. Oh, Bobaloo, thank you for the follow. And I just realized how very loud my speakers are, and I'm going to turn them down. So here we are in the code for Emoji Tetra. That's not the first thing that I need. The first thing that I need to do is turn on Emoji Tetra once I've fixed its data. So I need to go to the logs, because I do have the ability to rewind these gamebots to when they were working correctly. I need to probably have a little bit less logging in here, but it's fine. So maybe a little more logging. I would actually like to put logs in here for all of the poll results. I'm not doing that right now. So let's make some notes. What I would like to do. Let's go here and just make a file where I'll just say to do. And we'll just say log poll results. That'd be nice. And rewind Emoji Tetra. Resume Emoji Tetra. Rewind Emoji Snake Game, which is less borked because of the nature of the gameplay, but it has been moving with disregard to the player's wishes, and I would like to fix that. Resume Emoji Snake Game. Now that Twitter's fixed their problem, I guess I could say verify Twitter polls work now. which I kind of did with Gail Simone's poll, but I could do that a little bit more with my own. And then add code, add functionality to emoji tetra to handle 0 vote polls that follow 10 plus vote polls. And then whatever that code is, add it to Emoji Snake Game. And I also have a project that's for future poll games where I would like to put as much as possible of the plumbing of how to do a poll game into this other project so that it's all done and ready to go. I don't have to copy it as much when I want to make a new game that's voting on some other kind of moves and some other kind of game. So maybe do that too. To poll game base. I think that's optional because poll game base is already incomplete, and it's getting it to have as much as possible of Emoji Tetra's functionality as a whole thing. What is the, oh, sorry, that's in the wrong spot. Okay. Then, and then, since I did have a couple frames where I think I did something dumb, reset keys, Twitter credential keys for Joe Sandow and Schools of Fish. This is what I'll do after. For whichever app, whichever Twitter app does Twitch promo tweets on my local machine. That's just because I think I flashed something I shouldn't have earlier. So don't try to go back and change and fix that stuff, because that would be real bad. Okay, let's see. So verify Twitter polls work now. And let's do that. So let's go over here. Feel free to ask me questions if you have any. Let's go here, Tetra Beta. This is on a timer of once a day, but let's just run it and create new test. Sure. Default. Sorry that I was one of the 50 plus people to at you on Twitter. No, we're only a couple people. Thank you, Evan. I appreciate it because I had no idea that anything was going wrong. It's funny. This morning I was like, sometimes there's errors, and it'd be nice if I got some notifications that weren't just me checking my notifications on Twitter. And I thought I tweeted like, maybe I should use Pushbullet or text messages to tell me when there's a server error for my bots. And this wouldn't have shown that because I have this. There was no error, like in terms of throwing errors. There was just failure of Twitter's logic to do what it's supposed to do. But it was slightly coincidental. All right, so test, Tetra Beta. Bobaloo said, I saw that tweet and assumed it was about the messed up polls, so I didn't at you. Wow. You all right? I saw it affecting every poll on my feed. How many polls are on your feed? You get like a lot of polls? Do you subscribe to like a ton of poll accounts? Because that's cool. I think polls are fun. Mostly. Okay. 23 hours ago. Uh-oh. What's going on? Maybe it didn't do it yet. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this one, 4 minutes left because I have this set to just doing like 5-minute things. So I'm going to do write. I'm going to use my phone to quickly vote on this from a couple of different accounts because the test I'm running, which has to be completed in the next 4 minutes, is that I want to see that like a few different votes. Actually, please feel free to go to this page and vote on this poll. This is a fairly meaningless game happening that will not be completed like with any kind of success. But the okay, so that's 2 votes for right. That's good. So a poll created by my code is successfully receiving and showing multiple votes that are not from the current voter. It's not just showing me my own votes, it's showing me the votes of other accounts. Come on, phone. You can do it. And let's do one for rotate. And now it shows some of the votes. One for rotate, one for right. That's partly because Twitter's poll system doesn't show all the votes all the time up to date. A decent amount. I just voted. Oh, thank you, Evan. Thank you for voting on that. That helps me see how much poll data is working properly now. Emoji tetra beta. And this will just be the last one. I'll put one more for right. 4 votes, 1 for down. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Verify Twitter polls work now. Done. Log poll results. Actually, that can go later. That's part of this. So now what I want to do is rewind Emoji Tetra. Let's figure out where to rewind it to and how to rewind it. So go back to the Tetra function and check its logs. Where's my food? Ah, did I forget to bring a fork? Oh, here's my fork. Fantastic. Lunchtime. And so the problem started, let's see, when did the problem start? It was, I need to know the UTC timestamp of when the problem started. So here we go from 3 hours ago and 3 hours ago. So this is 223 is good, has a rotate, which was respected. And then 242, 223, 242. So to between 2:23 p.m. Pacific time and 2:42 Pacific time, which is what? 2:42 Pacific time in UTC. Really? I guess. That's kind of nah. Let's just do this. What time is it in UTC? Twitter knows what I'm talking about. It's 0:46 now. So let's just do a little conversion here now. And it's 5:46 p.m. 5:46 p.m. Pacific time now, which means in military time it is anti-aware. Thank you for the follow. I didn't hear the jingle because I turned my volume down too low. How you doing, anti-aware? Thank you for the follow. 5:46, so 17:46 military time, Pacific time. What's the other term for military time? I don't know. The 24-hour time. 24-hour time, yeah. Right, thanks, Evan. Okay, so the difference between Pacific time, this time of year, and UTC, which is universal something something, is 5. No, sorry. we're going up to, this means 24, so it's 7 hours. So it's my current time plus 7 hours is UTC. And then the date, the date line isn't crossed in that calculation, so it should be the same date. And that's okay, because the CloudWatch logs here are, yeah, this is Tetra. These logs are for today. So if it's 5:48 now, p.m., and that leads to midnight UTC. What? Oh, I see. This is showing UTC -7 because it knows my time zone and it's trying to be helpful. Got it. So I don't need UTC necessarily. Although I kind of do if my logs are in UTC. Like, these don't get adjusted. These are just UTC the way all logs should be. And so I need to know the when I want to find the good time for the log message. So if this is +7, we want to do between 9:23 p.m. UTC and 9:42 UTC. That is what we're looking for, which means 9 is in 24-hour time plus 12 is 21. And that's the magic number, 21:23 to 21:42. So we got 21. So we got to go back to another earlier log file. 21. Try the third one. Try the fourth one. Try the fifth one. 21:42. No. Try the sixth one. 21:22. Here we go. So 21:22, read game state from database. Here's the game state. And so we do that. And that's from, let's just take this whole thing. That's from that time. So when it ran successfully, it read this from the database and it created a healthy poll from this data. That healthy poll, sorry tummy, I'll feed you. My tummy's growling at me like a cat. That healthy poll worked. I don't want this data, I want the one after it. So let's go back. This was the sixth one, right? Let's go to the fifth one. 21:42. Writing game state to database. No, that's not quite right. It's this one. Read game state from database 21:42. So here, is that the whole thing? Nope, missed a letter. That would be bad. Okay, so the database string is that at 21:42, which means that the tweet, where's my tweet? The tweet at on the 42 read that data from the database that said what to do to generate this tweet. And what I want is to generate this tweet again. So it's the 2:42 event that I want to redo because this poll got busted. It got busted. So I think what I do is I take this, I go in the database. This is how to rewind. And I go to here. I suppose I can copy this, but it's really not going to matter. But just for fun, let's copy that for reference. And now let's go over here. Simple poi. Interesting. Is it? I'm glad it's interesting. That's why I'm streaming it. I thought it might be interesting to some fraction of humanity. So let's take the database string, which I could walk you through what it means, but that's not the point. The point is, what is the database string? So this is the state of the game. Paste that in. There, it's done. And it is interesting. Okay, good. I'm glad this is interesting. That was my goal, is for it to be interesting. I think it's interesting. I've done this before, so I know what I'm doing, and I also know what's safe to show you and what parts are like bad to show you. Although I did mess up a little bit and show something I shouldn't have earlier, but I'll change it. It's fine. So this is now probably going to be okay. It is now 5:53. It happens, the bot runs on the 2, the 22, and the 42 of the hour. The 2, the 22, and the 42. So we'll get a live test if I turn this on, having fixed the database. We'll get a live test of that on the 2 of the hour. I don't want to run it now because that just messes up the schedule of the bot. Never coded once in my life, and yet I'm interested. Well, that's good. This isn't coding. I mean, this is what you do when you're a programmer. This is what you do when this is programming. It's not coding, but it's how you spend your time once you've written code. Is dealing with other people's mistakes and then working around them. I might code some stuff later to avoid this problem in the future, so I don't have to do all this manual work. Evan said, I have a degree in computer science and have never coded anything non-academically. Well, you've coded. You just might not have written as many unit tests, or fixed a server that people were using. Need to find a project to work on. Oh, I'm sure you'll be able to. Although I've been there, I know the feeling of being like, there should be projects all over the place people want to do that they don't know how to do. Trick is to find one that you feel like you can do. That's not like, make World of Warcraft, but with jet engines. And you're like, well, that's not really the project I was looking for. I was looking more like tic-tac-toe website or something. So where was I? So I'm going to turn on Tetra because I disabled it earlier because I got out of the shower, looked at my phone, I tweeted something, and then I saw my notifications. There were all these people being like, Joe, the polls are broken, it's disregarding our stuff. And I was like, oh, I have to feed the cats, I have to feed myself, I have to put on my medication. So I just turned off the bots so they'd stop doing stuff that was like making things fall and taking this game that people have been investing their time in and making it so that it's going into this terrible state of like destruction where it's just things are just falling and they're just falling. And then this is where I turned it off, was like, this is where you're just hitting down a lot and there is no recovering from that. And then if it erased the game, it would start a new game, and then I'd still be able to go back. It would just be like more ridiculous looking. So now that this has happened, I'm going to calmly and slowly start deleting stuff. Why are the polls always 2 minutes after the full hour? Is there a reason? There is a reason. Thank you for asking, Sipple. So the reason is that I wanted to put them 20 minutes apart. I felt like that was a decent interval. And if they happen on the hour, then they're more likely to get lost in a sea of things that are scheduled to be on the hour. Because the majority of cron jobs people do, cron jobs are timers. The majority of timers people set up for automation tend to be on round numbers, which means that they all happen at the same time. That puts extra stress on systems, but this is a very small system. It doesn't put any stress on anything. But one of the systems that having all of those zero timed things go out at the same time, one of the systems that puts stress on is the attention of humans. So if all the humans are just like scrolling and then all the bots they follow just all fire on the zero, then they're going to see a whole bunch of stuff and my tweet will just get lost in there. So I just said, well, let's move it over. Let's offset it by 2 minutes so it's on a less popular minute. And by doing that, in theory, more people will see it, and it won't be as many. It won't be as much of a spam experience of like, whoa, all this crap just came up. It's a small thing in practice. It probably wouldn't matter, but it's something I learned a long time ago that there's no downside, in my opinion, except for occasionally answering the question, why is it on the 22 and not on the 20? It just is. Okay, so Emoji Tetra now has some cleanup to do. So while we're waiting for that 2 to roll around, it's 6:02, and I haven't done Emoji Snake Game yet. I haven't started it. I'm going to start deleting these tweets. So we're deleting this one, deleting this one. And these have lots of replies to them of like, oh no, what fix it? Oh no, what's going on? And those are now lost unless you search for them. I can see them because I can see the notifications, but they don't matter as much as like cleaning up the timeline and making the whole situation less confusing. I think that's more important. So here's 0 votes. If it has 0 votes, we don't want it. Delete. I don't want to orphan tweets unnecessarily. This is the wrong. Where am I? What is happening? Oh, that's just that's its timeline of who it's following, which is me. So let's go to here. And here's an interstitial thing. Game continues in new thread. Continuing game from thread. And then this is the tweet with 0 votes in between those. Let's delete those, all 3 of those. Those all have to happen again. And the database information knows that. So delete all 3 of these. Should be fine. And then we're back to this one from 4 hours ago, where the vote was for rotate. When the system runs 3 minutes from now, it should read this tweet. Notice that rotate was called. Call rotate and check the state of the data of the game from the database. Perform the rotate, create a new tweet replying to this tweet, which now has no replies from Emoji Tetra below it. I guess it should make a new thread because it's at the 50 tweet mark of how long I want threads to be. And that new poll should work fine. So while we're waiting for the next 2 minutes, let's get started on Snake. Let's go do the same operation to rewind Snake, which is less of a concern because it has fewer people playing, and because when the snake wanders around, the ramifications for that playthrough are less significant. But it does affect the score. It's wandering around randomly. It's probably not moving optimally. It is going to score fewer points as a result, and that's not fun or fair. So let's fix it. So here we'll go perform a similar operation. Let's go look at, just to make sure that the bug that Twitter experienced was for all polls, for all accounts at the same time, which we don't know for sure. But here we can see 1 hour ago when I turned off this bot, this one showed 0 votes. 2 hours ago, 0 votes. This one is an interstitial where it's showing the movement of the snake without a poll. 2 hours ago, 0 votes. 1 hour ago, 0 votes. That's, oh, it's yeah, that makes sense. If you scroll back up in the thread, it's previous. It's a previous tweet. So here's 2 hours ago, 0 votes, and scroll up till we get to something that has some votes. 2 hours, 0 votes, and here's some votes. So 3 hours ago, between these two, let me close a couple of tabs because I'm getting a little overwhelmed with tabs. Here. Let's open this in a tab and this in a tab. They're both about 3 hours ago. One of them is at 2:28 p.m. and one of them is at 2:48 p.m. Today, and they're both in Pacific time. So same operation. We want the data that was read from the database for this tweet. 2:48. So 2:48. Poll is back. Ah, yes. Excellent. Thank you. Let's go look. Thank you, Simple POI. Is that point of interest? Is that poi like eating a pig? Or what is that? What does POI stand for in this case? In this context. Poll is back. Okay. 7 votes. Good. Not 0. It seems to have done the right thing. It looks like I did the right thing. Person of interest. Person of interest. Simple person of interest. Right on. Thank you. So now we have this. And I now have a bunch of retweets that I can unretweet on here. So here's, I'm logged in as Joe Sandow, looking at Emoji Tetra. So now I can, I don't know, what's the right move here? Rotate again, right? So it's only showing me my vote. That's a common imperfection of Twitter's interface. Most people think that their vote came first, and it didn't. It's just that the other votes haven't come through in a way that they're showing in the interface yet. It'll update eventually, and it'll show more people's votes. So now, we did it. Yay! Let's fix another one. So this is the snake logs. I think it was about 5 log files down last time. And we're looking for pretty much the same time range, which was between 21:23 and 21:42 UTC. 21:23 and 21:42. So this one is on the 8s, not the 2s, but it was the same general interval. Person of interest, your favorite TV show. Oh, I've seen some of that. It's pretty good. Amy Acker's really good. 21:28. All right, so let me make sure I think this through again. I'm not so practiced at it that I know, like, off the top of my head which one to use. So what I want to do is the one that didn't work correctly, this one, which is right here, the 2:48 one. It read from the database, and it read this data. It read the tweet ID and the fact that up won the poll, and the fact that the snake was in this shape and all that stuff. It read all that from the database about the previous tweet, but it did that reading at 2:48. So the reading at 2:48 is what I want. Read game from database. This one I haven't compressed as much, so the database format is substantially more readable, which doesn't matter to what we're doing right here, but it may interest you to feel like you can make out more of what that string is trying to tell you. Going to bed now. It's 3 a.m. Good night. Good luck fixing the snake bot. Thank you, simple person of interest. Have a wonderful sleep. Thanks for coming by and chatting. Sweet dreams. So this is the game state read from the database, which includes one of the benefits of not compressing the data, even though I'm storing more data and I'm transmitting more data, which eventually could be a problem. But here I have the ID of the tweet in question. And now I can easily confirm, without having to convert it, easily confirm that it matches. It ends in 800. That it matches the tweet that I want to reply to. Where's the tweet I want to reply to? Well, that's troubling, because that's not the tweet I want to reply to. So now I'm confused. What? What? 21:28. 2128. Is that right? 2128? Is that right? I am getting confused now. I'm just a little disturbed by how different that number is. It's possible I did something wrong somewhere. I don't want to proceed incorrectly. 21. What was the 21 from? It's from here. Because we're... No, I think I got mixed up. Because I think the 21 was... Oh, I see. So this was 14. Military time. Yeah, that's correct. So it happened at 2 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, which is 24-hour time, 14 o'clock. And in UTC, that's 7 hours later, is 21 o'clock. So why is the ID completely off kilter? What is this ID? Does this even exist? Yes. So what was I looking at? Let's try that again. Here's one that worked. Oh. This is why I'm thinking it through. So the 228 event read from this tweet that was even older, and it created this tweet again. I don't need that. That's the wrong one. Evans said, I actually just emailed about a software engineer position at the Desert Research Institute, Nevada State Climate Research Entity. Cool. I hope you get some good news from there. That sounds pretty awesome. Do you know what kind of software it is? I mean, obviously it's climate related, but anything else? Do you know what you would be working on? Need to know how long temporary is. Hi, Delaney. Oh, a temporary software engineering position. Let's see. So what I want is not that one, but this one. I want to read this one, which is 616. So this is easier, and this is an argument for not compressing the ID. I got a little compression happy on Emoji Tetra, and there are times when I regret it. But this, let's go to 5. Hey Joe, how's that water bottle coming along? Oh, thank you, Delaney, always looking after me. Thank you so much. Almost an hour. Yeah, I was gonna do a bunch of other stuff, and I was gonna do some games with y'all, but then Twitter broke, and I was like, all right, I'll fix the thing. I'm ready to stream anyway. I'll stream this fixing process. That's mildly interesting. Thank you for reminding me. You know what's more important than the water at this moment? Because I woke up with a splitting headache, and I still don't know exactly why. I think that's something to do with that I put my cat's bed on my bed, and I kind of scrunched myself in the corner. That was probably a mistake. This one? No. It's supposed to end in 800. Or was it 600? Wow. What? 2148. Read game from database. Okay. I think that's the one. The 600. Read game from database. Oh, come on. What do you want? What do you want about? I didn't delete that. Seriously? I can't tell if this is Twitter having errors or me making a mistake. Could go either way. How's your day going, LNA? Kelsey, how's your day going? I remember your name is Kelsey. I hope you don't mind if I use it. If you prefer, I'll just call you your username. Whatever you prefer. I attempt to learn people's names if they want me to. I'm very bad at it. 3 hours ago, sure. 228 was a good one. Why is this so much harder than the other one? 248, we read from here, and we got the 616, this ID that ends in 616. I don't mind at this time. I still display it where you know me from, after all. Well, that's what I was wondering, because sometimes people remove that when they're like, I'd like to sort of not show my name anymore for a little while for reasons. And I didn't check today. I worked with them a bit in my Intro to Data Mining class. They're analyzing and visualizing climate data collected throughout the state. That's cool. I hope you get some good news from them. It sounds exciting. Worthwhile stuff. 616 is this tweet, which was it was tweeted at 228. So at 248, we should see a log message where it reads from the database, and I don't see it. And I'm very troubled by this lack of logic. Legit, and if I do, I might ask you to not, but I made a conscious decision to display it when I set up the account and thought through what I wanted to do and be and why. Good for you. I'm right there with you. Exactly the same thought process. I think I kind of just, like, when I set up my Twitter, I was like, first it was just for friends, and then it was, once I started doing stuff that was a little bit more public facing, I just looked at Felicia Day and I was like, if Felicia Day can show her name, I mean, why can't I? Just have to make sure you understand how to attempt to scrub your home address from the internet, which is a big pain in the neck, but mostly possible. What am I looking for? 2148. This is the one that was there, but really doesn't make any sense unless there's two ways to write this. No, because I pasted this and it said that page doesn't exist. What am I doing wrong? Emoji snake game. Snake. Wow. What's happening? Maybe that tweet got deleted for reasons. No, maybe not. Because I didn't add the snake. I didn't add code to snake to delete things. Oh. I made a conscious decision a few years ago to not hide behind a handle. I don't begrudge those who do, though. I am the same, Evan. I completely understand. It's a very personal decision based on a lot of factors. What I certainly don't want to do, though, is disregard someone's decision to change their mind about whether they want to show their name. Hi, Balrog. Somebody from Andy's community. So nice to see you, Balrog. Balrog, did we meet at TwitchCon? I feel like we didn't, and I just saw pictures of you, and it was like, well, that's a shame. We talked so much online. We worked together on solving puzzles together, but we didn't actually get to meet at the same day at the same time. But I still feel like I sort of know you. Welcome. I'm troubled. I'm a little lost. I don't understand my own logs. So snake should be printing the ID that it's going to use, and it's not. I can construct the string myself, but the chances of me getting it right are slim because it's complicated. And I do not understand what's happening. Perhaps it would help if I deleted some tweets first. No, it would not. It would not. I'm just lost. Let's get methodical. Let's get methodical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go through these one at a time. 2308. This shows something that ends in 2400 was read from the database. And that is probably this one. This one should have been reading from this one. So here's my biggest concern. These IDs, these Twitter IDs, they end in things like 368. And here, this one says 345. And before that, 315. and 971. They add in things that are not round numbers. No, I was only there on Friday. I saw your pics in Andy's Discord. I missed a lot of fun. Oh, I missed Friday. I think I was sick. But it was cool hanging out with people. I went to TwitchCon basically to hang out with Andy Ray and her posse, her other fans. And it was pretty fun. We went to dinner on Saturday night. I got to meet Shay Roz, who's awesome, who's now like a big time streamer. Great to hang out. I'll be back in the future. Thank you so much for coming by and chatting, Evan. I'm not always this obtuse. Something's going wrong. I want to figure it out. So my concern is that these IDs end in 00, and they really shouldn't. And that has to do with something, like how big a long is. A long is like an integer that's a very large integer in Java. And there's an argument with Twitter IDs. They're so long that they just barely fit into what Java calls a long. And there are times where that number is too big to be stored correctly as a number in certain places. And that includes Airtable, the database that I use. So when there's a field that's a number field in Airtable, if I put a long in there by itself as a number, Airtable will change the number to something else because it doesn't have enough precision to hold all the information. And that's very bad when you need the exact right number. That's not what's happening here, because here I'm storing this game state in Airtable as a string. So if I go to emoji snake, go to snake, emoji snake game, the state, it says 345. That's the last one that got stored there. But the logs, I can't find a log that says that. And that's real messed up. That when I'm writing this string that says write game state to database or read game state from database, I don't have full precision here, and I didn't know that, which means that I've probably never rewound snake before, and it's not easy to rewind it. So now I have to do the hard thing. And I also have to give myself another to-do, which is to fix the logging of snake. Fix snake logging of Twitter IDs to have correct precision. I didn't notice this before because when it's writing the string to the database, it's writing the correct number in that string. As we can see here, it says 345 is the ID for emoji snake game. It doesn't say 300. It doesn't round it to some round number. But when I look at my logs, which are very important because they are the mechanism I use to rewind when there's a problem, I am not seeing the full precision. I am seeing IDs that make no sense. That's why snake is taking me a lot longer to fix than Tetra. Tetra's fixed. I fixed it. It's done. And that's because Tetra has a different format for its database string, where I compressed the ID and it's all just a jumbled mess. And that fact somehow means that I'm logging it correctly. And here, because this is a JSON blob and I'm constructing it in a certain way at a certain time, something's going wrong when I'm constructing it for logging, and it's not the same string that's going in the database, which is very, very bad. And it means that the logging is essentially useless, except for the fact that I can get the rest of the string correctly. So now I have to reconstruct it by putting together pieces of the database string carefully and correctly. So I think this is the one I want. This fired at 2148. That was the first bad poll. So I want to do what happened at that run through of the program, which is I want to tweet, not this tweet, but this tweet. I want this tweet to happen again as a result of reading from this tweet where there are poll results. So I need the database to represent the snake in this shape and the clock at this time and this tweet ID, which ends in 616. But the 616 is the part I'm going to add. I have to find the string that represents this shape and go from there. So let's do that. How do we do that? Well, first we look at the time, and the time is probably this one, 2148. And I want to copy, I don't really want it expanded. This interface is like showing, it might be this interface that's the problem. This interface is showing me, oh, it is this, it's this interface. Okay, the problem is the JavaScript on this web page. That's the problem. There is no way to scroll to the right here, which is really a shame. This is a big problem with this interface. Amazon Web Services is not the best at making interfaces. I'm going to collapse this thing on the left, and that's important because now you can see where it says 616. And this all scrolls off to the right. If I drag this window to make it bigger, you can't quite see it unless I move it. So I'll move it over. Now you can see just barely the whole string, and it ends in 616. And now here's what's taken me so long. I spent half an hour on this. The bug is Amazon tries to be helpful. And they say, oh, look, some JSON. We'll expand it for you. Oh, that's a number. Oh, numbers are only certain level of precision. So we'll expand it, and it'll look like this. And what does it look like? Spot the, oops, sorry, too big. Spot the problem. Hard to get it all on screen at the same time. This number right here ends in 616. Expanded turns into this number, ends in 600. This is the same crap that Airtable does. It silently changes the number when it's processing because it just loses precision. This is one of the many, many things that computers do wrong. They don't tell you when they're going to drop information out of one of your numbers. They just drop the information. And you have to suffer the consequences and someday figure out what went wrong. So what I'm learning today is that I do have the string. This is the string. I just have to copy it from up here, which I was going to do anyway, but I couldn't see it all because I'm streaming and I didn't have my windows at full expansion. And this format is slightly problematic to log because this is the place I can read the logs from easily. And this place will deceive me when it comes to those IDs. All right, so that was a giant waste of time. But anyway, there we go. So here is the database state that I think I want. I could figure this all out. The snake is at position 6, 6, and then it goes left 4, down 4, right 6, up 4 to draw the snake. I think that's from the head to the tail. And I could see that that's what's happening in tweet 616, I think. Yeah, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Head starts at 6, 6, goes left 4, down 4, etc. That is the correct. Oops, I lost it. It's okay, I put it over here. Left 4, down 4, right 6, up 4. That was the shape of the snake. Good to go. This is the string that I was looking for. Computers, man. Okay, let's put this in here. The playthrough hasn't changed, although I should make a note that I want it to. Log poll results, log playthrough string when reading or writing it, and log the scores string when reading or writing it, so that I can rewind those the same way. Now the system used to have one database field, now it has 3. The state, the playthrough, and the scores. And that's for some functionality that I haven't finished yet, which is automated high scores at the end of the game. So now I've fixed the data for Snake, and it's supposed to fire on the 28th to the 8, 28, and 48 of the hour. That's in 1 minute. So I guess I could race the clock and see if I might be able to get it to work before then, but it's a little doubtful. Disabled, enable, save. It is now 6:28. It may or may not run now, or we may just have to wait 20 minutes. I do not want to run it off schedule. I'm going to let it run only when it's supposed to. But I do want to go delete the unnecessary incorrect tweets, which it looks like I don't have Emoji Snake Game as one of my Firefox containers. Let's do that. What icon is the most like snake? Snakes are green, although I did have green for a different account, but that's okay. Which of these is like a snake and not like the others? This one. None of them are. It's fine. So I did that, and we'll go to there, and I'm still logged into LastPass. That's good. Snake. Okay. This is happening. This is all good. We're getting there. Snake. Logging in. Oh no, you know my password. It's good for 13 more seconds if you know the other one. Now I want to delete all the bogus ones. 58 seconds. So this worked. I got it just in under the wire. The timer fired. 3 people have voted. It is working. That's in reply to this one correctly. So this one up was the winning move, and the snake did indeed go up, as it should, and all is well. Or at least all is well in that area. Now I want to clean up. So let's delete this one that has 0 votes, this one slowly and methodically. This one, yes, because this is a reply to one that has 0 votes, where it randomly went in some direction, but nobody voted for it. This one, let's see. Something's definitely borked, yes. Okay, I'm going to delete from the end of the thread first. And keep going until the thread is all cleaned up. Almost there. This one, same glitch happening with Snake too. What the fuck? And then delete. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. No rush. Looks like this one glitched too. Yeah, turn that bot off too while I investigate. 0 votes. Delete. And I think we're done. So now we have that, which had votes, leading to that, which has votes, has 6 votes now. And it's all clean. So it's fixed. Pretty much. So let's mark off what's done. Rewind this. Is done. And, well, that's the same thing. Then resume emoji tetra is done. Rewind emoji snake game is done. Resume emoji snake game is done. Great. Yay, we fixed the immediate problem. Hallelujah. Now I get some food in me as a reward. Pavlovian. Now I'm gonna do some of these things. This is not a problem necessarily. Fix snake logging of Twitter IDs to have correct precision. Not needed. Turns out it is logging correctly. I just have to know in my bones that when I expand one of these cloud log things, cloud watch logs, that this expansion here, this is no good. It's just wrong. The data in here is wrong. The correct data is up here. So be it. Hey, thank you, Balrog. Round of applause. Oh, I got Andy's round of applause. I love her round of applause. It's brilliant. Andy's very clever. So let's get rid of some of this distracting stuff. And let's add a couple things here to the code. First of all, let's get into some version control and make sure that I'm in the right branch. Well, make sure I can access the GitLab connection. Copy this thing, put it in here. Cool. Dart says, what do I think of the new Picard trailer? I think it looks cool. Although apparently Riker and Troy are in it, but I didn't see them. But Marina Sirtis was like, and Jonathan Frakes were both on Twitter like, this is, we can finally, cat's out of the bag, we can finally say that we're in the show. And I was like, are you? You're not in the preview. But okay. Brent Spiner's in the preview. Jerry Ryan's in the preview. I think it looks really good. I'm pleased. Oh, Delaney, thank you for the bits. That's so nice. Thank you for the cheer. Success. So let's do some easy stuff right now, which is, let's go to Snake and Emoji Tetra. Can I not move these? Okay. Snake, I want to be in the master branch, and I am. Emoji Tetra, master branch. Good, but there's some changes. Here's a to-do file. I did do that. Gotta go. Give you a tip for succeeding at a thing. Thank you, Delaney, for the tip. I appreciate it. That's how that works. That's how it works if that's how you want it to work. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Thank you for coming by, and thank you for the tip. I don't think that's how that's supposed to work. It's not? I don't know. There are no shoulds. There's just what we do. The to-do, I'm going to leave that alone. Dart said, my wife and I got an autograph and photo with Marina at DragonCon a few years ago. She was a delight. She's hilarious. They didn't let her be funny on the show, but she is really funny when you see her in convention panels and stuff. Have a good one. I'll be back later if I can, maybe. Thank you, Delaney. If I'm still streaming, hopefully I will not be coding. I will probably be switching to playing Codenames or something with chat. That's what I wanted to do today. I had it all set up, but then things happened. So we'll see. I hope to see you later. Have a good evening. Log poll results. Oh, that should be log poll results for Tetra. These are separate tasks. Log poll results for Tetra, log poll results for Snake. All right. So, poll results. This would help me in cases like this to look through the thing and look through the logs and see where poll results are going wrong. Where are the poll results being read? Tweet. No. Post poll. Okay. No. Not when we post a poll. When we read a poll. Read previous tweet. Show status with card. Got the tweet. So we could do it here, but I'd rather not, because that's not where I'm reading the poll data out of the tweet. So let's find usages of read previous tweet, which is where poll reading happens. So here's previous. Read previous poll and post new tweets. Should assess results now. That looks at the poll, but it doesn't necessarily read all of the results. Previous game tweet. Determine elected move. Here we go. Determine elected move doesn't log anything, and I've decided that it should. This might help sometimes. Do I have a log class in here? If card is not null, log, I do not. Let me go find the code for making a log object. It's log, log, log. It's log. It's log. It's big. It's heavy. It's wood. It's log. It's log. It's better than bad. It's good. Log info poll results for I don't know about what the tweet. Yeah, I guess I do. Be useful to log even if card is null. Well, I could log the fact that it's null, but it just means this tweet didn't have a poll on it. So that's only for cases where I'm tweeting something automatically, but it doesn't have a poll on it, or I'm reading. If I'm reading something, if I'm entering this method, and I'm passing in a tweet that's supposed to have a poll on it, then chosen move will be null. This code won't happen, and will return a null, and then bad things will happen. That just means something's gone terribly wrong. Yeah, this would get called in that case. Yeah, this is if the card is the poll. Card is just what Twitter calls a poll, and the poll results only matter when there's a card. This is just protective code. It doesn't mean anything. Basically, I could just say assert card is not null. It would be the same result pretty much. That would probably be better to do anyway, but it's fine. Log info, poll results. I'm just deciding if I want to put the ID in there. I kind of do. Poll results for tweet get ID. And then the poll results. The poll results are what? The list of choices, not the winners, just the raw data. I just want the raw data. Choices, it's an array, so it's gonna be kind of ugly. In fact, array's toString method is probably real bad. What is the toString for choice? Choice, label so-and-so, count so-and-so. I mean, that's fine. It's a little verbose, but it's fine. I don't have to change that. Card has a toString. Card has a toString. Well, it's an interface. I'm not sure. I think I wrote card, kind of, or I copied parts of it from different places. Yeah, it has a toString. Whether it has the array toString choices. Oh, that's what I should use. Good point. So choices equals this. Yes, I could log the entire card, or would that be too much? It's a good question. It's a good question. One of the benefits of live streaming your coding is people have good ideas. Would it be too much? Well, it would say all of this. It would say card JSON impl, meaning poll, which is confusing, but I know what it means. The name means nothing. The card URL means nothing, basically. API, I don't even know what that would be about. Duration minutes would be 20, but moderately interesting. Counts are final, sort of interesting. Last updated time, end date time, and then the list of choices. Yeah, I could do all that. It's mostly, it would tell me whether counts are final is true or false, and what the end date time of the poll was and stuff. It is more verbose, but all the data's there, so I don't see a big problem. The big problem is really just a philosophical question about what is good or bad about more log messages, more log text. Because when the log text gets to be too much, it's harder to visually parse it and find things. And then you have to do filters and look through it and stuff. It's nice that I can just read it and it's all there. This isn't logged elsewhere, I guess, already then. No, it is not. This is all the logging there is. And I could do that, but I'm leaning towards not doing that. I already do say our poll counts final because that was an issue. That's a whole complicated branch of code about what to do when the poll is final versus not final. and I still have work to do in that area because it's still not perfect. But no, I'm leaning towards let's just do this. Array toString choices. And where's my where's my stuff here? Let's check my configurations and see if I can run this on something safely manually. I don't know that I have it set up to do that. I guess I don't. Twitter poll maker doesn't, it has a blah 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 Airtable base, so it's not really set up for this. Post poll with new creds. Ah, okay, this might work. No, because this has no Airtable set up. I think I was just debugging something else. So it's a little hard to test. But I expect that it won't be a problem. I expect. You know what I'll do? Here's what I'll do. I'll put this in. I don't feel like getting keys to test this locally because I'm streaming, and getting keys while you're streaming is kind of a hassle, and it's not very interesting to watch. But if I do this, I build it, I deploy it to a different Twitter account, and then I just run test on that account, then I'll be able to read the logs, and then I'll just be a little integration test for it, and I'll see if it works fine. Log the chosen move too, probably. Well, so this is raw. This is just the raw poll data, because I'm not so concerned with testing the logic of, once I have these counts of how many votes there were for each choice, did I logically choose the right one? That's not in question. That works fine. What doesn't have any visibility is how many votes there were when I called the data. This would actually help for other cases too, where people say like, hey, the wrong thing happened. We voted for rotate, but it went left. And I say, yeah, well, Twitter has a bug where after they mark the poll finished, then they still change the results after that. So it's marked final, you get the results, these are final, they will not change again. You say, okay, great, and you act on them. And then later on, some number of minutes later, Twitter changes the results and they add more votes that they didn't count the first time, even though they marked it final. It's a bug. And I still can add some code at some point to get into that particular case and put more sleep time in, where it just sits and waits. Like, it just says, oh, it's final, I don't believe you. And it'll just sit and wait. And then it'll be like, all right, it's been a little while, let's check again. And it'll read the results again and be like, well, I don't want to wait all day, so I'll assume these are probably correct, and then it'll move on. And I haven't added that. I thought I did, but it turns out I didn't. But this would at least be able to show, oh, this is an argument for what you said, Darth, which is, if I log the entire card, then I'll be able to show people, this is Twitter's API. They said the card is, the poll is final, and they said that these are the results. And that's their bug. Like, I can't promise that I will know more than Twitter knows. If Twitter tells me a lie and I act on that lie, I don't know what to say other than they lied to me. Database consistency? In my Twitter, it's less likely than you think. Yeah, that they don't really value polls. Polls aren't really their thing. Just like retweet counts. That's going to change. They don't care too much. I'm going to change this to the word poll just so that when I have people looking at it, when I was saying like, here's my log, they'll be like, oh yeah, look at that. Wow, Twitter, you suck. And they won't blame me quite as much. Because card JSON and poll doesn't tell the story very well. But poll does. Poll has a name, a card URL, all these things, and then the choices. And counts are final is the interesting part there. So let's just log the card, like you said, because there's an extra benefit to doing it that way. Poll results for tweet and plus the card. Cool. Does this now fit without wrapping, which is the next thing I wanted to do? Yes. Don't want the variable. I just don't like when lines wrap if they don't have to. If there's a way around it. So let's do that. Let's do the to-do's kind of in a weird place, isn't it? I don't actually need the to-do to be over here. I could put it somewhere else, like this. And then delete it from here. And now let's increment the version number, build the sucker. What? Here. Build the sucker and deploy it first somewhere safe, just to be extra cautious, in case it throws a null pointer exception because I missed something. Do you have a README at the top level? I put to-do lists in there before. Yeah, but the README gets, well, what I was trying to do was just not deploy the change, the README, the to-do file changes in that in the jar that I'm making. Doesn't really matter. I just felt like it would be cleaner not to do that. So I don't want to go into Tetra. And the README does, like if I push this code to GitLab, people read the README, so I don't really want to publish that text of like what I'm in the middle of doing today. But I'll go to, let's just go to Tetra Beta, that's fine. And has it finished building yet? Nope, because it failed. Okay. Yeah. So some tests fail because I changed the number of times that I'm calling getID on an object, because that was just part of my logging. And I have some tests that are extremely strict where I just said, how many times are you expecting to call this thing? So I can just update these and it's not a big deal. But I kind of like most of my tests to be explicit about how many times they're going to call each method of the mock objects. So old game tweet, yeah, that's where it reads the poll data from. Old game tweet get ID 3. Here, old game tweet 3. It means the tests are brittle, and I have to do what I'm doing now, which is kind of a waste of time when nothing's really changed, but I'm okay with it. Okay, previous tweet, get ID, yes. And then, what's this one? Previous tweet get ID happens one more time. This one, there are a lot of test cases. This is a pretty complicated program. 2 of these, 4 more to do. 2 here. Riveting television, isn't it? 2 to go. Do you see they're making a Mr. Rogers movie with Tom Hanks? It looks really sad. Everything with Mr. Rogers is so sad. And it shouldn't be. It should be happy and joyful. But it's sad instead. Because we don't have a Mr. Rogers anymore. And he was such a force for good, and we don't have a replacement. And we need one very, 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 very much. Okay, that worked. So now we can, oops, we can deploy it to here, version 1.34. And then we can just run, once this stops spinning, it's fully deployed, and we can run a test. We can run an integration test. So here we've got the referee now has a logger where it does poll results for tweet, previous get ID, and then it passes in the card. It turns card into a string, calls toString on the card. Card JSON impl. This is just some formatting, standardization, that's fine. But here I changed card JSON impl to poll because I want my logs to be a little bit more meaningful, and card JSON impl is kind of a strange name for what is fundamentally a poll. And then player spec has a bunch of tests where I incremented the number of times that getID gets called on the previous tweet. Super great. And this is where we log poll data when reading results. 1.34. No, what's wrong? Git, come back, Git. Oh dear. Well, it is the beta. I'm using the beta version of SourceTree because they finally introduced dark mode, and I have light sensitive migraine stuff sometimes. So, oh, this is not the right place. Tetra master uncommitted. There we go. Let's try that again. That's the first instability I've seen in SourceTree. It's been very stable for a beta. Dark mode. Dark mode. What is this? Distgasm. Who's that? I don't know who that is. That's intense. Alright, so we'll commit that. Tag 134. Yeah, I'm all about dark modes. I love dark modes now. Love them. Okay, this is good. Dist is a Dark Souls speedrunner. Oh. Dark mode. Not that kind of dark, not undead. Just literally dark. So we got logs. So this is neat. Let's go to the logs. First of all, it ran without error. That's pleasant. If we go to the logs for Tetra Beta, the last log should show some good stuff. Poll results for tweet so-and-so, the number. Poll, name equals. Poll for choice text only. That's just Twitterese for this is a poll with 4 things. Card URL is that thing. Duration minutes 5. Counts are final true. Last update time is that. End date is that. Choices. Choice label left. Count equals 0. Label right. Count equals 0. All the counts are 0 because that's how we voted on that. Emoji Tetra Beta. So in this instance, that's what happened. There were 0 votes because this is not a account with people following it. So now if I put a vote on here, like plummet, and I think it's too soon to run it again. It has to be a little bit more time, but I could try it. So if I try this now, looks like it worked, and it'll have a log that shows us poll result for tweet something or other. Now says, nope, wrong one. What am I looking for here? I don't know. Oh, it ran successfully, but it might have said, no, I can't do anything right now. I don't know what happened. I'm confused. Let's try it again. Confused. Test. So now it's pink because it had an error. Close race ends much later. And that's because it doesn't recognize yet that there's a vote on here because of the delay that Twitter has in sending out information about other people's votes. So my code thinks that this is a close race. They're all 0, 0, 0, 0 for all of the 4 poll choices. And because that's a close race, it's tied, my code wants to wait until the poll has ended completely before it is willing to call the election for any one result. That's just a safeguard that I put in for some reasons. It does mean that testing manually is a little bit of a hassle because I have to wait for Twitter to start showing that it's got some poll data, and this is taking a little bit longer. So this is 449. Maybe it worked. Oh, that first one worked. But where's the log showing what I wanted it to show? Oh, maybe I missed it. Which tweet is it? It's this one. No, I want to read from this one, which ends in 396. Okay. Let me get rid of some stuff. This is snake. This is tetra beta. That's what I want. This is also tetra beta. Now I'm confused. Poll result for tweet 737. And then there's no other poll result. If I refresh this, it might have some new data added on. Yes, it does. That's better. And so the bottom of it, of the logs, the log page, shows close race end much later. It shows that again here. What it doesn't show is the results, because I guess it's earlier in the code that it's making the decision not to act on the code, not to act on the poll. But I was hoping, oh yes, here we go. This is it. So 396, it says choices, choice label plummet, count equals 1. So now we see the raw data logged out. That's helpful. So that's pleasant. Let's deploy that to Tetra, the main thing, the one people are playing. And now that we've made all those decisions about how we're gonna do the logging, where we're gonna do it, what does it look like, does it work, now we can do those same changes much faster and easier on the code for Snake. Open Snake, new window, sure. I haven't made a library for all of the code that they have in common. I could, but it wouldn't necessarily make my life any easier. So for now, I have the code separate and duplicated in places, and I'm okay with that. There may come a time when I want to make a library out of some of it, but not today. Should tweet high scores list when game ends. Okay, so this is some stuff that I haven't finished yet. That's another feature I'm working on. But I need to put that aside. What I'm supposed to do is stash it, but I just don't remember how to stash and unstash and use stashes correctly. So I'm going to branch it because that's what I'm used to. So this is high scores 3. Do you use Java in your day-to-day work or just for fun? I have used Java in my day-to-day work. I'm currently not working full-time, so no. But in my previous jobs, I've used Java extensively. And also Groovy, which is a flavor of Java. Different from Java, but very much related. Unstaged files. So we're in high scores version 3, and this is some high scores unit tests in progress. Just want to get that out of the way. And I'll even push it to the server because I don't want to lose it. It's good stuff. Now I want to go back to master branch, and I want to make those changes again. Set tweet mode extended to true. I haven't deployed that yet, but I recently found out some stuff about the library I'm using for accessing Twitter, and that I can and need to set tweet mode extended to true to handle long tweets in certain circumstances. Me neither. I just got fired last Thursday. Oh, I'm so sorry. But onward and upward, submitting applications. Already got one interview and set up for Friday. Yeah, I hope that it's like, a blessing in disguise ultimately. Hello, Clastic. Yeah, any place that fires you, it sucks. But, like, hopefully you find a place that's less toxic and less problematic for you, and that values you more. And In the long run, you might be glad that it happened. Maybe not, but you might be. If you find a place that's better, it can be like a relief to leave an old place. How are I doing tonight? I'm doing good. Doing good, Clastic. How are you doing tonight? I was doing really, really bad when I woke up with a splitting headache, which I don't usually have in the morning. But I got through it, I fixed it, and then when I was getting ready to stream some game stuff, you're doing well. I'm glad you're doing well. What did you do today? Did you have any fun? Or productivity or relaxation? When I was getting ready to stream, I was getting out of the shower, that's when people told me that Twitter's polls are broken. Work and more work. Yeah, 21st freaking century. Played some Emoji Tetra. I've seen people tweet like, am I a gamer? Yes, I play Emoji Tetra, which I think is pretty cute. Snake. Okay, so the same thing that we did to Tetra, I want to do the same thing, pretty much, to Snake. Komodo hype. You got chattel hypes that I don't even know. I don't even know what that is. Komodo hype. Is that a bird? Is that a dinosaur with its mouth open? Yes and yes. It's both of those things. Where's the referee? So I think I have this mostly the same structure of how my code is laid out in Snake and Tetra. Oh, it's a Twitch standard. Komodo hype. That's why it's all capital. Both words have a capital letter at the start. Right. Yeah, I don't understand half of the Twitch emotes. I don't know what they mean. They have history. And I'm like, okay. IO, referee. Here we go. So the referee, let's just copy the same thing. Determine elected move. Here it is. Determine elected move. Now, this does look different. Why is it so different? Because, I don't know. Oh, because this one has this extra block of code that has default choices for breaking ties. So the logic in Tetra is if the winners, if there's a tie between a bunch of choices in the poll, the first type is yours. Ooh, class day hype. Nice. I know I gotta make some more emotes for myself. My emotes, the only emote that I've made so far is Amethyst as a kitten. I just took her face and I cut it out. She's so cute. But I gotta change that to Nibbler with his tongue sticking out. And then I gotta make some more because I got like the other tiers that I can still fill in. Hey yo. Hey Dragon Killer. How you doing, Dr. Dragon Killer? Doctor. That's Mr. Dr. Dragon Killer to you. So the logic for Tetra is more complicated because if one of the winning tied votes is stop, then we choose it. If it's down, we choose down. Otherwise, if it's plummet, we choose plummet. So that if it's like left and plummet are both have the same number of votes, then plummet wins that tie. That's how we break ties, by progressing the game by moving down. And Snake doesn't have that concept. It just says if there's more than one winner in the poll, two of the things got the same number of votes, then just pick one at random because it doesn't make much difference. So anyway, after we've chosen the move, we want to log this information also within the block that says card is not null. This log is now pink because there is no log variable. So we also need this piece of code to make it so there is a log variable. And now we should be good to go. So the problem is that the unit tests are going to have the same problem. We got to fix those unit tests. Way too late here. I should be sleeping and I should have done some work today. But oh well, some other things have been more interesting. What was more interesting? Before you go, tell me what was more interesting than work. Because Clastic's story was that Clastic just worked. Just worked. Worked and worked and worked. A snake, like a snake laughing. Komodo hype looks adorable. Has there ever been a tie? I always feel like one is always pick away more than the others, but then again, I'm sure I do not see it enough to really know. Yeah, there's been ties. There's been lots of ties. And sometimes people are like, what? But it was, what? Is it really a tie? And they can't even tell because it's like 58, it's like 48%, and then 4% for something else. And that's a summary. That's just, boiling it down to percentage. But if there's like 300 votes, is it really a tie? And my experience is that if they're both bright blue and they look like they're colored like they're the winner on Twitter's interface, if you go check the raw data from the API, then they're a tie. But I'm not sure if there's a counterexample where they look like they're the same, but one of them is the winner because they had technically one more vote or something. I don't remember. Sometimes there's a 3 split resulting in rotate forever. Well, rotate forever means no one knows what to do. Means there's no good options. So this has the same problem situation. It's not really a problem. It's just a fact that these counts of how many times we call getID is now increased. So we just have to acknowledge that in the test and live with it and move forward. Just a few more of these. Intro tweet? No. Previous game tweet, this one, 3. Whatever it is, +1, because we're calling it 1 extra time. Previous tweet, getID 2. 3 more of them. Previous tweet, getID 1 more is 3. This one, And now this one is a different kind of test, so it's not jumping to it. Here we go. Previous game tweet 2. Yeah, we had those as well. Twitter colors both blue when percentage is the same. Yeah, and I'm wondering if there was ever an example where the percentage was the same, but only one of them was blue, because under the hood, the real raw number was slightly higher, even though they round to the same percentage number. I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, I haven't seen it. I've seen the ones where it's a tie and people want to know, is it really a tie? And I'll go check the data. And then I'm like, yep, it's really a tie. Playing the new Overwatch character. Reading about cool latex commands I saw in thesis and mapping streets and fixing errors for Waze. Map editor. Whoa, do you work for Waze? Or are you... Oh, is it like crowdsourcing, fixing Waze? That's pretty cool. Wow, you sound like you've been very productive, Dragon Killer. That's very impressive. I've just been fixing Twitter bots for the last couple hours. Speaking of which, let's take a brief interlude and go check on our bots. Emoji Tetra. Not the beta one, but the live one. Looks 7 minutes ago, it tweeted again. It's behaving normally. It's got over 100 votes per poll. Everything's good. Let's go to the right. And then Snake should be back up and running, no problem. Waze is crowdsourced map car navigation. Nice. And who is the new Overwatch character that you've been checking out? So up and left, 8 votes. Definitely a tie so far, but 17 minutes left. 2 minutes ago, so it's still tweeting. Looks like Snake is working well. Wonderful. 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 This is... too much stuff's open. Let's close some stuff. Looking at too many things now. Okay. There can't be the situation described when rounded percentages equal, then both are blue. But what if there were like 300 votes and the rounded percentages are equal, but under the hood there's one more vote for one of them, but it's not enough of a vote to raise an entire percentage point. You know what I mean? So it's like 48, 48, and 4 as the percentages that are whole numbers, but under the hood it's a very slight increase of one of them. I guess I would have to have a large number of accounts to test it, and they'd have to cooperate and not mess it up, so it's too hard to test. It's a question of what Twitter would do. I don't know. Don't know. Not too worried about it. This will be, let's just increment this a little bit and build the sucker. Build the snake. Build that snake. Sigma, a scientist who can manipulate gravity and stuff. Cool. haven't really gotten into Overwatch. I bought Overwatch, but I ended up returning it because I was like, oh, you have to have a PlayStation Network account active to play this on PlayStation. No thanks. I don't want that right now. And I was on a Mac back then, so that was my only option. Clastic said, alright, I'm going to go check out this local show. If you're not on when I get home, I hope you have a good night. Finish everything you're hoping to finish. Thank you, Clastic. If I finish what I want, then I want to question my body, see if I need to exercise or stop streaming. And if I'm still good to go, I might switch to playing some games. But I still have a question about why my automatic tweeting of my stream isn't working today. That's troubling. And it's frustrating that it's happened before. And my streams end up going towards troubleshooting the thing that tells people I'm streaming. Oh well. Saw it twice. Really? So eventually it worked? Well, no, I'm supposed to keep tweeting. So maybe that's okay. Okay, good. So it's working. I think. Oh. It's not working correctly. Or is it? Well, maybe it is. I don't know. Something was going wrong before. Oh yeah, it's not working correctly. It's not threading correctly. I don't know why. But it is tweeting. And it's not tweeting every 5 minutes like it was that one time. That's good. That's good. DM me what I see. Thank you. What was I doing? What was I doing? I was trying to deploy the change that I made to Snake. I believe in the change. I think it's a good change. I'm not worried about it. It's going. Let's go. Let's go, change. Snake. Where you at? 232. Doesn't sound right. Wasn't it 233? No, it's 232. Okay, save that. So then I should be getting some logs of polls. So assuming I did that correctly, I haven't really verified it yet, but I have attempted to deploy it. We got log poll data for Tetra, done. Log poll data for Snake, done. Log playthrough string when reading or writing it, and log scores string when reading or writing it. All right. That is less important, but it's good to do because once I have high scores running, then Snake is going to have, there's going to be a problem where when Snake gets into a bad state and it starts a new game, I won't be able to reset it. I'll have lost the data that I need, and the high scores that I will have posted before will become like not correct with the new data, or I'll have to regather all the data again, and it's going to be too much extra work. So it's just today is a bit of a wake-up call about logging. Anything that goes in the database needs to get logged in such a way that I can pretty easily rewind the state of all the fields in the database. Send it on Twitter. All right, later, man. Thank you, Clastic. Thank you so much. Have fun at your show. I'd love to know what it is, but you got to get going, so get going. Get going. Don't be late for your show. Okay, this is good. Referee, this is logging poll results. Log poll results. That's fine. Log poll results. And then this is 232. Good. Good. And we'll tag that. We'll push it to the server, which I probably forgot to do for Tetra. Pushing. Yes, I did forget. Let's push this to the server as well. Wish it wouldn't be that late. I hadn't stuff to do tomorrow. Leaving now too. No problem, Dragon Killer. I appreciate you stopping by and saying hello. Someday I may be able to stream earlier and more people can hang out earlier. But we all have what We all have to do what we gotta do. Have a good wind down part of your evening and do what you gotta do to get ready for bed. Have a good day tomorrow. I believe in you. Where was I? I was gonna log playthrough string when reading or writing it. So the playthrough string is already getting written and read, and I need to find out where that code is so I can add some logging for it. It's only in Snake so far. Let's see here. Evening, 4 o'clock, you're already in bed. Really? Well, there's a story behind that. You're in bed at 4:30. You're bed at 4 o'clock. But, I don't know. I don't know. What's that about? Get playthrough ID. No. Update database with game over and tweet high scores. Yes. Maybe. Maybe? Probably? Yes. So this says logger. I don't like logger. I like log. I copied the logger thing from somewhere else, and I grew up calling it log, so I'm going to call it log. And to be responsible about my git commit changes, I'm going to just make that one change first in isolation. Change variable name. Oh, hell no. Hold on. Logger. Where else do I use logger? Here. Did I put this in here? Well, I don't know. Where does it get used? Oh, it doesn't get used. Why is it in here? I do not know. Also, it's the wrong class. There's a lot wrong with this. And I suppressed the fact that it's unused because I was gonna use it again. I don't know. Let's just delete it. It's weird. Hold on. Let's just clean up the use of logger in this particular file. Match case. Logger. Here. This one. Status with card JSON impl. Status with card, which means tweet with poll. A tweet that has a poll. For some reason, I put that in there probably, but it may not be getting used. It is not used. Fine, it's gone. It's gone. Oops. Didn't want to do that. I just wanted to get rid of any imports that are not being used. Any imports not being used? No, good. Okay. So let's get rid of logger and get rid of logger. And this is what? Oh, this is rearranging the imports. I'm okay with that. And that is getting rid of an unnecessary redundant bit of code there automatically. That's all good. So this is change logger to log and format and some formatting. I worked with somebody who we did not agree on a lot of things, to put it mildly, but he did have this thing about git commits being like, if you're going to do formatting stuff, do it in its own commit. If you do functional stuff, like change the behavior of the code, do that in a separate commit. And it was just a pet peeve of his, and I kind of got used to doing it that way, and hadn't thought about it before then. But now, once I started doing that, I was like, not a bad idea. I objected to a lot of his ideas, but that one, not a bad idea. Evening o'clock and already in bed. Oh, 4 a.m. 4 a.m. Oh. Yeah, okay. I don't know why I thought it was 4 p.m. The word evening next to 4 o'clock made me think something's going on and you have a weird work schedule and you're going to sleep at 4 p.m. And I was like, but that's so early. And then you say 4 a.m. and I'm like, oh, that's totally normal. I understand that completely. That's when I go to bed. Which is messed up, but that's how it is. Playthrough. Here we go. Find usages of playthrough. Get playthrough ID. No. Update database. The playthrough. Is that true? Okay, bye. Okay. Okay, bye. Oh, Good Place Janet is saying extensions, but I didn't launch stream. There's things I didn't do that I usually do. I didn't launch stream avatars for this stream. I didn't mean to launch Steam. Go away, Steam. What's your deal? Steam's gonna pop up any second now. Okay, so I did have here high scores tweet content. Tweet content? High scores message. Oh, tweet content as opposed to the database content. Yeah. So the new scores that goes in the database is that, but I didn't log it. So let's log it. Log.info high scores scores written writing scores to database, and then there's this pretty long string of the scores data, new scores, writing new scores data to database, new scores. That's one thing. Delete state and update scores. What else? Writing new scores to deleting state. Let's just say deleting state and writing new scores to database. Okay. Then what else? Database. Read, playthrough, and scores. Okay. Log.info. And it's good to do this now in the snake code because I haven't copied any of this to Tetra or to the poll game base or any other poll, any other game that can have high scores. This is my testing ground for my writing place of how I'm coming up with what the code should be for doing high scores is Snake, because Snake is the one that needs it the most. It's running, games are short, people need a motivation to play the game differently, and I don't want to keep track of this high scores every day for Snake manually. But for Tetra, it only happens every few months, so I'm doing it manually isn't that big a deal, and I will automate it after I finish having Snake automated. And then I'll have the code ready for any other future bots that also could use some high score lists. So this is red playthrough from database. Playthrough and scores. Actually, let's move that down to here. Playthrough. Just say reading playthrough from database, playthrough string. And it's not the number of database operations that's important here. It's reading old scores from database. It's just what are the fields. So one log message for each field being read or being written is pretty good. So there's database. What else? What else? Or I could do the logging inside of the database class, whichever. It's fine either way. Where else is database called? Read playthrough. Yeah, I should probably do it there. Who calls this? It's called from up here. Okay. Playthrough database. Log info. Reading playthrough from database. Playthrough DB. What else? Copy this. Database has lots more places. Write, state, and playthrough. Writing state to database. Hopefully, I'm not double logging this. Am I double logging this? I don't know. How could I not be? Here it is. Writing game state to database. Uh-huh. Oh, because I might do it here or here. So I am starting to regret putting the log messages into the player class. I feel like maybe they should have gone in the database class instead. Maybe. But, update database with new game. Wow, what's going on here? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Write state and playthrough. That might be more elegant, and it might make more sense. Map put right fields map. So I could do it here and nowhere else for right fields, and that would cover all of them. Log. There's no log. Okay. Okay, let's do this. I think I like this idea. The log for the player class, we're going to stick that into Airtable database, but we're going to change the class to Airtable database, because that's unfortunately what you have to do. And then this is the red spot where I didn't finish. Writing field, get field setter except, so there's the value and there's the field, the database field, which is state, playthrough, or scores. Field name. Field name. Writing field get field name to database to database value record. Oh, that's just the Airtable thing. Okay, so writing field so and so to database, that will cover all of them. So now I can go find all the messages that say writing and just lose them. Writing this? No. Writing I guess that was it for writing. Oh, here's writing. So let's turn off match case. Deleting state and writing new scores to database. Well, so that does say deleting state, but it's not really the most important thing. Plus, I think that it might, when I do delete the state, the way that I do it will be to say putting blank for state, and that's pretty much gonna print something anyway. Writing state to database blank, that's close enough. That's what deleting the state means. Deleting state, let's get rid of that. I'm trying not to sneeze. Let's do this. No, let's finish getting all the ones that say writing and get rid of them. Okay. Now let's get read game state from database. Let's get rid of read and reading. Database read game state goes to read field. And reads, so there's read scores, read playthrough, read game state, and what else? Get record. And apparently I have combinations where I have use cases for writing two fields at once. So I want to do it in one request. So then I have things like write state and playthrough. That's a combination that does happen. Oh, here's read playthrough and scores. Okay. Get Airtable record. New playthrough, return new playthrough and scores. So get Airtable record for those fields. Is that where I could put it? Is that where I can put it? So write fields is the thing that all writer methods eventually go to. So I put the log message in there, and that covers my bases. Gets every type of message logged. And for reading, I'm hoping it's get Airtable record. That might be it. Get Airtable record fields. And we're doing, there's some caching, there's doing the query to Airtable, creating the record if it's not there yet. And then there's putting things in the cache. But what about logging? How can I log easily in one spot? So there's my results. Assert that there's exactly one result. There's fetched record. So fetched record, if I just log the whole thing, that might work. Or for each field, if cache record equals null, yeah. This one we're actually calling the database, not just getting the data out of the cache. Then for database field in fields, for each of the fields, let's see, fields gets passed in here and gets used for what to send to Airtable for what fields we want to get back. Then we get back a record, and then for each field we're going to do something to the record. We're going to do get create a time ID, name, playthrough, scores, state. I don't really want to get the scores and log it every time, because it's going to be a huge string that's meaningless, and it's just going to be clutter in the log that I don't want to deal with. And I don't want to have to look for cases where that's supposed to be there, cases where I have to pay attention to it, cases where I have to ignore it. I'd rather do that here, but I don't have a trivial way to do so. The fetched record is that. Unless I put logs into each of the getters, but it would be really nifty if I could do it right here, sort of. So there's fetched record has those getters, and then there's, then there's field, which has get field name, get field getter, which is a function. I did do this. I did do this in an interesting way. So the field getter is getting the thing. So there's a field name and there's a field getter, and I just have to find out how to write the code to use the field getter, because I've done it before. And it's this: field get field getter apply to record, the Airtable record, and we're doing that to this Airtable record. So we'll do this apply to the fetched record. For each of the fields that we've asked for, and that gets us the value, and then there's the name and the value. Field get field name and value, and then we will log info reading name, the name of the field, like state, from database, and then the value, which means that I could shorten this to that. And this is still a bit long, so I don't want to stick it on the end here, so this looks pretty good. And now this method's slightly longer than I would like, but it's gonna be okay. And now we can get rid of these log messages, which are things like read, pretty much the word read, but in a bit of code. Writing game state to database, get rid of that. Reading playthrough from database, get rid of this and this. Keep going. Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of whatchamacallits. Read game state from database. And I changed it from read to reading. It doesn't matter because I don't have any automatic parsing of the log files. It's just me and my brain. I'm the parser. So now log is used somewhere to do something. Whoops. Log. Log is used for logging retries, high scores, tweet content, which is different from database content, and what else? Our poll counts final, game over with score, just the score, how long it's waiting to do something, and something about how long the poll seconds are remaining for a poll. Okay, cool. Let's run the tests and see if anything broke. Nope. So check these changes in. Removing log messages that are about reading and writing from the game, from the database. A bit of cleanup of line breaks I don't need. And then Airtable database is where I'm moving all of the log messages for reading and writing each field in the database. And I can do that because of the way I wrote the code. All the database writing code passes through this part here. So for each of the database fields, we can say writing the field name to database and the value. And then for reading, we can say whatever you're asking for, we will go through those fields and for each one, get its value, get its name, and say reading name from database value. Good to go. So this is consistent logging of reading and writing database field values. Then we'll increment this 233, 233, copy. And we'll build it. And then while it's building, I think those changes I just made are very helpful for future proofing both Snake and Tetra, and arguably Poll Game Base. But Poll Game Base is kind of just it's not even a skeleton yet. It's part of a skeleton. It doesn't. I don't think it has database stuff yet. No, it doesn't. So when I fill in the Poll Game Base template for how to make a poll bot from Tetra and Snake, I will have, regardless of which app I copy from, I'll have the necessary logging already in place. So that's what I want to ensure right now. So close all. I want to go to IO Airtable database. I want to make those same changes to increase the logging of Airtable database. And then I can get rid of these messages that are just saying what methods are getting called, because that was to debug something. It's a technique that I learned at one of my earlier programming jobs that's pretty good if you want to have verbose logs that tell you what's happening all the time. But since I'm not having a problem that relates to this right now, I don't need to prove which methods got called, and I don't really want to. It doesn't help me. I can put things like that back if I need to later on. But what I want is to take the thing I just invented, which is the technique for consistent logging of every database write and every database read. And I want to do the same thing in the other application. Write fields. Hopefully I wrote this the same way. Pretty sure. Ooh, I didn't. So Tetra doesn't have multiple fields yet, So all it has is write game state, and it doesn't have the database field stuff because I haven't started working on the high scores code for Tetra yet, because I haven't finished it in Snake yet, which means that for now I can just say writing state to database state after the, well, maybe before or after. What did I do in the other one? I did it before. So table update calls the database, and I want to do that. So I'm writing. I'm planning to write. This is what I am attempting to write. Writing state to database state, and then do the writing. And then having done that, I want to not record the same information in player. I also want to get rid of these log infos of post tweets, all these things that say what methods are getting called. Because as someone pointed out on a stream last week, those logs are very verbose and ultimately not that interesting. It tells you a story, here's what's happening in the program, but it's mostly noise, not much signal. Here we go, log info, writing game state to database, compressed, which in JSON is this. Okay, so this is a different case. In this case, I think I should leave this because I do think there's some value in having these two formats, as long as I still have code that reads and writes the two formats, the JSON version of the database string and the compressed version. I haven't made up my mind yet whether to get rid of one. I use the compressed version for Tetra, and that's just to avoid an explosion of cost of running the bots. Trying to compress things wherever I can so that I don't get charged for excessive bandwidth usage or exceed any kind of limits in Airtable. But I already had the code for the JSON version, which is more readable, and so I think it's nice to log both of them. So that's fine. So that's writing. I'm going to leave that for now. Read game state from database here. I'm going to cut this. And in read game state, I would like to, in get Airtable record, I would like to do something. Results equals this, equals this, equals this. Okay. Reading game state from database. What? Oh, okay. Record get. Oh, see here it has get playthrough, get scores, and get state. So I did start doing this, or I copied some data from Snake to Tetra, but I don't think I'm really doing anything with any of it yet. Like, I don't think that this even has a database field class. It doesn't. So read game state from database, record get state. There, that's all. I think that's pretty much it. Close that. Did I launch Stream Avatars? I intended to, but I don't think I did yet. That's what that commands thing was supposed to be. Hello. Hello, Stream Avatars. Yes, you're very enthusiastic. That's great. Connect. Which should make little people at the bottom. Yay, hello, little people. Hello, little people. Hi, everybody. Hello, little people. So then let's go back in here and finish this up. Tetra. We're getting rid of log messages about what methods are getting called, and read game state from database, and then that's it. And then this one, we're removing log messages about what methods are getting called, but we're adding log messages about reading the game state from the database, which is the only field that matters in Tetra today. and then writing the state to the database right before we write it. So this is remove excess logs, excess log messages, excess logging, remove excess logging, add consolidate database logging. So it's a structural change that will make it easier for me to copy the stuff from Snake when it comes time to do so into Tetra, so that I have my logging is in the same place. It's in the database class in both cases. And now we've done more of these. Log playthrough string when reading or writing it. Log scores when reading or writing it. We don't need to fix Snake logging of Twitter IDs because it turns out it was logging them correctly. And then add functionality to Emoji Tetra to handle 0 vote polls that follow 10+ vote polls. This is more complicated. Reset Twitter credential keys. Yeah, I got that. Add functionality to Emoji Tetra to handle 0 vote polls. So here we get more complicated. And also, we're not done because we have to deploy these changes. So let's deploy them. Continuous deployment, although not automatic, just doing it a lot. So let's increment that and build it. This is Tetra. Let's increment Snake. If I didn't already, oh, I think I did. 233. I believe I incremented Snake just recently. Yes, I did. Did I build Snake? I think so. I'll know in a second. When I try to deploy it, I'll see what's up. Snake. Hello, Snake. 233. Open. I did build it. That's why 233 is there. And this is the Snake function. It's getting the new Snake code. It's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning. Great. Super great. Let's see if Tetra succeeded in building. It did. Oh. What? Well, I think these are just logs of cases where that's supposed to happen. Where the error trying to tweet message hello with poll choices red blue. These are just test cases where that's what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to throw an error. Build successful. Okay, good. Green check mark. Tests all passed. Now we'll go to Tetra and we will deploy that change of Tetra to Emoji Tetra, which I wish I had called Tetra. But at the time, it didn't occur to me that I wanted them all to start with different letters. That was 135, right? Yeah, 135, which is the new number. So save. Let that spin for a while. Make sure I have tagged this with 233 and pushed it to GitLab. Pardon my chewing noises. Nom, 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 nom. And then Tetra, we still have uncommitted changes because I didn't do this yet. 1.35. And we will go back to the master branch and tag that out of habit. And then push it to GitLab. And now, both of these have been deployed. So now we're done with these things. Okay, so the next thing I was thinking of doing, which might be beyond my scope of my brain power and my time tonight, but I think I can do it, is Emoji Tetra handle 0 vote polls. So the next time this happens, as Twitter continues breaking things, which they do, the next time that polls stop working correctly, let's have the the system respond well instead of what it did today, where I would say it responded poorly because I never saw this error before. This has never happened before, where Twitter has a bunch of, well, maybe it happened once before. Maybe that's why I rewound. Yeah. Well, anyway, so it's happened once or twice. I don't know. But let's say that if there's 0 votes total, then what should we do? I think we should throw a custom exception when counting the votes. The custom exception will say there are no votes, and catch that exception higher up in the code, and have the code say, oh, there are no votes. Oh, well, in that case, I need to go into a separate procedure to figure out whether to delete this tweet and skip this turn, like wait on this turn because Twitter's having some sort of an error. Maybe even tweet a message to the readers saying, looks like there's something wrong. Twitter is having an issue at the moment. There are no votes. But it should only do that if it looks at a previous poll, an earlier poll, and it does see numbers. And the way for it to do that isn't trivial. It would have to either store the previous poll vote count in the game state, which is a pretty big change to the parser, or it would have to actually go like look through Twitter and just look through the last few tweets in the timeline or in the thread. The problem with looking in the thread is that there's going to be a lot of cases. There's going to be times when there is nothing previous in the thread except for following back through the intro and outro tweets, which link the two threads together. And having to follow those back is even more complicated. But maybe if I just read the timeline of the account, only in the case where there are 0 votes total, I read the timeline of the account, go back 20 tweets, and in those 20 tweets, if I see a tweet that has 10 votes, then I know that this is an active account with followers. I mean, I could check the follower count, but that's not the threshold I'm looking for. I'm looking for something. I mean, I said 10. 10 is kind of a weird number because like Emoji Snake Game has 2,500 followers. It gets about 15 votes sometimes. It's real small. And 10 is kind of on the border. It's close to that border, which means if I make a game or an account that has just a little bit less followers, like 1,700 followers, there's going to be polls where it's going to be like 8 votes, 11 votes. So that logic doesn't really hold true. But if I can find a ratio of follower count to vote count, expected vote count, then I could put a heuristic, a good guess of whether or not to let the tweet stand and say this is just a valid 0, no one voted, or to say this is not a valid 0, this is a preposterous 0. This is a situation where there couldn't be 0 because there's recently been a much larger expected number of votes. The expected number now is like 5 or 10 or 50. So let's see, what is the ratio? Expected ratios. And we have 2 examples to draw from. Emoji Tetra and Emoji Snake Game. So Emoji Snake Game has 2,500 2507 followers. And Emoji Tetra has 14,000 followers as of now. The ratios should be somewhat trustworthy over time. So let's look at some completed polls for each of them. So Emoji Snake Game, and this is 8 p.m. in California. This isn't representative of the entire day, but we can look through some samples. So here's 20 votes, 23, 19, 23, 28, 31. So vote counts 23. Let's just get a few samples. 23, 22. It said 31 was one of the bigger ones. And what I really want to look for is the smallest numbers. And I could write a code to do this automatically, but don't really feel like it. 14 hours ago, that's, I don't know. It still says 31 votes, so that's still when a lot of people are awake and doing stuff. So that's the end of a thread, because snake games by their nature are quite short. Let's go back in time on Emoji Snake Game more than 14 hours ago, where there were 31 votes, 34 votes, 13 votes. So here we're getting into more nighttime stuff. So there was a 13 and a 16, another 16, and 18. So I'm not seeing much below that. A 17, a 16. But it's pretty close to 10. Like 10 would be a presumptuous minimum. But as long as you go back, if we're just going to read 20 tweets and say, let's look through each one and see if it has a poll, and if it does have a poll, see if it has at least this many tweets, at least this many votes on the poll. And if so, we'll consider this an active account with players. This account has a player base. And so 10 would work okay for Emoji Snake Game. So minimum 10 is reasonable. And it's not to say that they all have to have more than 10, just that at least one of them has to have more than 10. So that ratio is 2,500 to 1. Ratio is 250 to 1, which is to say 250 followers per one vote. So then here we can take a guess that 1,400, 2,500 to 1 for the 10 to be below the minimum of the vote counts that we actually see. So then if we do 14, sorry, let me do this on screen so you can see what I'm doing. So 14,000 followers and 2,500 to 1. What's the math here? I'm confusing myself. It would be if below the minimum vote count is 1/250th of the follower count, then we just need to do 14,000 divided by 250, 56. So minimum vote count should be 56. So if this logic holds true, that these ratios are reasonable, then at the quietest time of the day or the week, we should expect that the least successful polls, the ones that are when the most players are not playing because they're asleep, those should be should have a vote count in the range of about 1/250 of the follower count, assuming the followers came from similar types of places. They're not just bots and stuff. Not bots who don't vote. And I expect that most of these are real accounts because there's not a lot of benefit to bots following this account. But emoji tetra, so 56. I think that sounds about right, but let's find out. So now if we go to emoji tetra, and we look at the polls that are finished, we see 129, good. 184, 192, and then we're getting into 20 hours ago, so that's good. We're getting through a whole cycle of the day. So now we should be able to look for the lowest numbers we can find. 148, 129, 141. It's fairly consistent. It doesn't dip too much, and it doesn't grow that much unless there's like a big retweet or something, which doesn't matter for this math. 205, 197. Cool. So that seems to be about right. 1/250th. If it's over 1/250th, should be good to go. So now let's do some stuff. We want to get back to is it IO referee? So the referee is where we see the raw vote count. Here's the find elected choices. And here we have choice get count is greater than top count. Find elected choices. For each choice, if the choice is above the top count, find the top count. For each choice, get the count and figure out which one's the top count. So what I don't have is code that adds up the total vote counts. But I could say if the top count is 0, then by definition that means all of the choices had 0 votes. So we'll just do that. If the top count is 0, if top count equals, is less than or equal to 0, you should always do less than or equal to when you can, for just in case there's any ridiculous situation that you haven't anticipated. You don't want to be like, oh, it was -1 for strange reasons. Well, special case. No. If it's 0 or for any reason less, then good enough. That's the same as it being 0. Because Twitter has had negative numbers on things in their display. Who knows what they'll do in their API. Then I was going to throw an exception here. The problem is that would interrupt the flow. It wouldn't proceed. And so I'd have to catch that exception elsewhere and decide what to do. Instead, I'm thinking this, even though it's the referee and it should just be like making decisions about things you pass to it, it might have to be like, well, this is the only time where we are checking the raw vote counts, unless I want to do it twice. But I think it's okay. I think right here I should just have it call something new that decides how to handle an empty poll. Should we regard this poll as being worthy of deletion or as being worthy of obedience? Should we obey the results of this poll? And that depends on what happened in the previous tweets, earlier tweets. The problem is the referee, as it's set up, it doesn't contain much. It doesn't have a reference to Twitter. I designed it to be in isolation. It doesn't call Twitter. It doesn't call anything except its own internal logic. It just takes some classes of Twitter objects and looks at them and analyzes them and returns answers about them. It's just a referee. It doesn't decide what else to do. So maybe instead of doing it this way, instead of doing it in here, it would be cleaner code and less confusing and easier to test if I make a new class to do it elsewhere. So from the player class, I do referee is going to determine elected move. But first, before that, if the previous game tweet is not null, if there is a previous game tweet, let's get its ID so that we know we're applying to it. And then, because there is a previous game tweet, let's analyze it using our referee. So that's the referee. I think what I want is a new class, probably, which will call Twitter. I mean, I have a class that calls Twitter, so I could just use that. But this method's already quite long. Very long. Way too long. Post tweets. And in this method, let's just write some thoughts here. So before we determine the elected move, determine if there are any votes on the poll at all. If there are votes, proceed. If there are 0 votes, then check the account's Twitter timeline for earlier polls that where there were more votes than 1/250 of the account's follower count. If there are 0 votes, then check the account's Twitter timeline for earlier polls where there were more votes than 1/250 of the account's follower count. If there were any polls with a lot of votes, then what? Oh, it's nasty. Because if there was a poll where that I'm reading now, where there are 0 votes already, then I want to create that poll again. But I'm reading it now. Can I create it again from what I have in the database? No. I can't. Because I don't have a reference to the tweet that came before it. Ah, damn. This is harder than I thought. I may not be able to do this today. It's harder than I thought. It's a bit complicated. That's too bad. So there's 2 ways to go about it when I need to do that. One is when I need to get the tweet that came 2 tweets earlier. One is I store it in the database all the time, and I change the database structure so that I store the last 2 tweet IDs, not just one of them, which I'd really rather not do. Or I handle all the different cases to go back through the timeline or through the thread and find the parent game tweet of the previous tweet, find the grandparent of what I'm trying to create. And that's easy in one case. When I just want to go find the parent, I just call Twitter and I say, what is this tweet replying to? And it tells me. But if tells me one that doesn't have a poll, then I have to go back further to a different thread and go find one that does have a poll and hope that I did that right. I didn't mix up something by having something that, like, for instance, has a temporary poll that I'm doing for some other reason and has nothing to do with the game, really. I don't want to count that one. So it has to be done logically through the links in the tweets that connect different threads together. And that's very messy and complicated. And I don't have rewind in the database. There's another way to do it. Put rewind in the database. Don't store the last two tweets in the game state in the database string, but store the make a new field or several new fields or new rows or table or something somewhere in the database. Put the last few game state strings, and then keep deleting the ones that are very old, but also keep adding ones as you make new ones. These are all possibilities. These are all complicated, error-prone approaches to the problem, none of which I feel is worth doing right now, when this is all to work around something that maybe never happen again, but maybe it will. Another approach is to, if a poll has no votes, then definitely disregard it, but you still have to rewind. That's the problem, because you have to do that same tweet again. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not that bad. So you read from the database to say, where am I reading data from, and what state is it? And let me make sure that this is hard. If it's hard, I'm not doing it tonight, or possibly at all. If it's easy, I might do it. But, like, my brain's getting a little fuzzy. Probably didn't eat quite enough. Let's eat some spinach. Bing! So this one has, I don't know, I mean, you can't really read it, but it has a compressed database, tweet ID in there. But I just want to think through it. Let me go to the player class of Tetra. This is where most of the good stuff happens. Should assess results now. So there's previous tweet. We read the previous tweet. Status with card. The tweet with poll. Read previous poll and post new tweets. We retry if the poll isn't done yet. So we read the game state. And so, for example, the current game state represents this tweet, the one that's 12 minutes ago, which hasn't finished its poll yet. And that tweet, the database now represents, now has an ID pointing to this tweet, not the one before it. It does not have a tweet pointing to this poll. Is this cut off in a funny way? Or am I crazy? Oh, no. It's just my windows are a little screwy off screen here. Okay. So what I'm thinking is that, let's say this poll here is problematic because it's showing 0 votes, and it's That's what's done. And we're trying to create the next poll. So we read the database. The database points to this poll. It has this ID in it, points to this tweet, and it's reading the poll results here, and it's saying there's zero votes. And then it has the database state to describe there are roses up at the top. They're pointing like this. This is the next and the score and the shape of everything else. That's all in the database. So we have those two sources of information, one from Twitter, one from Airtable. And then we combine them and run them through the logic to say, well, how many votes are there from Twitter? And if it says 0, then ideally what I wish it were easy to do is I wish that I could say, oh, well, if there's 0 votes on this poll and this poll is finished, then I want to redo this poll. I want to redo this whole tweet. To do that, I need to reply to this tweet, but I no longer have a reference to this tweet. I'd have to go find it somewhere, or I'd have to go store it in the database ahead of time, or I'd have to use some logic to go find it from Twitter's API, which is only trivial 95% of the time, 98% of the time. But that 2% of the time is important because that's where it's going to go wrong. That's the every 50th tweet, there's a new thread, and that new thread makes it really hard to do to figure it out. So if this is the poll that went wrong, and this one is replying, I want to replace this. This one is replying to this tweet, which says continuing game from thread, or it might say something else if I change that text later. Then the connecting tissue is I need to then read this tweet, know that this is an intro tweet to the thread by the fact that it has no parent or something. And then I have to drill into there, I have to parse that tweet, follow it to get to the parent tweet. And then delete not only that tweet, not only the bad poll, but preferably also delete the intro and the outro tweets that connect it. And then go back to use this tweet as the parent and rewind the thread ID index so the thread doesn't get too long. So that when we redo this, we will do 3 tweets again. The game continues a new thread tweet, etc. The intro tweet, the outro tweet, and the new game tweet. And that's all very complicated because of the threading problem. So really, like, if this were a larger system with like a bigger business behind it and more employees and more expense put into the database and the infrastructure, like, I think it would be reasonable to keep a log in the database, not just in the logs, which I don't want to read and parse. I could, but I don't want to read and parse, and that's even worse than other ideas. To do that manually, to do that automatically. I could have some database structure where I put in a bunch of recent database states and basically figure out from those which tweets to look at, and then find one that was valid and then reply to it and erase the other tweets. And then I'd have to be constantly cleaning up the database as well, and that's too much to do tonight, or possibly to do ever, because it's not a good ROI. It's like the amount of work to put into defending against this type of error automatically is a very large subsystem, very large, compared to what it's protecting against, and compared to the stakes of failure. The stakes of failure are the game is busted and bad things happen, or game is busted and people tell me and I have to go rewind it and once stop it, wait for Twitter to fix their polls, then rewind, delete some tweets manually, and that's it. But to auto correct for that error, it just depends how frequently this error is going to happen. It hasn't happened a lot, so I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to make this change. That's my decision. And how many viewers do I have right now? 1. So I've driven you all away because this has gone into the weeds. No longer fixing the current problem, but just doing maintenance, doing bits of maintenance that are less interesting than solving a problem in the moment. And I get that. It's completely reasonable. But now that I've tried to figure out how to do this, I can see that it's not worth doing. That's what I've learned. So, not worthwhile. Not worth it. And same here and here. Reset Twitter credential cable. I can do that offline. What I think I may do is, sorry, why are there so many? These are all bots? That's weird. Well, Claustic's still on there. Virgo. Okay. Most of those are probably Twitch bot accounts, which is weird. But I think maybe Claustic's still logged on. Maybe that's the one viewer that's showing on the Twitch dashboard app on my phone. I'm not sure. But the rest of them don't seem to count. They're just kind of there, which is weird. If you're in chat, please say hello so I know, but I don't think that anyone's in chat right now. I'm deciding whether to stop the stream and then try to pick it up after I've taken a break and recuperated, because I wanted to do a gaming stream, but that doesn't need to be this stream, and it's not like I'm losing a whole lot by stopping the stream now. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop the stream and then go eat and rest and feed the cats, and maybe come back on to play a game with people, which is what I had hoped to do today, and should be a little bit less brain work, in theory, less brain work for me than all this programming, and can give people a sense that I sometimes stream things that are not as esoteric as coding. So have a good night, those of you still out there, and I will see you while doing some other sorts of things next time, hopefully. Good night.